A very good afternoon to everyone. Our next speaker is Dr. H. Sujana Man, Professor and Head of Biomedical Engineering Department, BVRIT, Head Assistive Technology Lab, BVRIT, graduated BTech in Biomedical Engineering from Osmania University, completed Masters in Biomedical Engineering from IIT Madras, Doctor of Philosophy from IIT Madras Biomedical Engineering, published 6 research papers, 15 conference presentations, and an active leader. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon to all the participants. So let me share the screen. I'm switching off the video because of the bandwidth issues. Can you see the screen?
No, Sujana.
No, madam.
Yeah, now you should be able to see it. Now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, so today's topic is 3D printing in rehabilitation engineering. So as introduction is, I'm a biomedical engineer and I don't know much about mechanical engineering. So I can't tell you the techniques in 3D printing, but I can tell you like how it is used in rehabilitation engineering. And I'll give you little like few case studies and what is commercially available. And I'll give little introduction about the rehabilitation engineering because I see like other non-biomedical engineers also in the participants. Okay, so when we say rehabilitation engineering, it's part of biomedical engineering and it is application of science and technology to ameliorate the handicaps of individuals with disabilities. Okay, so whenever we say rehabilitation engineering, we also use another term that's called assistive technology, which is a part of rehabilitation engineering. It is any item, piece of equipment, software, product system that is used to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of person with disabilities. Okay, so you may ask me what are the different types of assistive technologies. So I have briefly put it here. They are like activities of daily living and there are mobility aids. There is sensory rehabilitation, like the speakers who spoke for the past 2 days. They talked about printing of prostheses and they have even talked about printing of hearing aids. So all that comes under assistive technology. And you also have education and learning aids, and you have access and environmental controls, and you also have computer technologies, like how a computer can be accessed for differently abled people. Okay, so when I say activities of daily living, it's like the daily things everybody does. So it's like eating, bathing, dressing, like toileting, and which are very simple for us, but just think of a disabled person trying to do these activities. So it's very difficult for them to do without a caretaker. So I have put few figures here which shows simple ADL, that is a short form for activities of daily living. So it can be a small holder for a spoon, or it can be giving strength when you want to turn the key, or it can be a page turner, or it can be a book holder. It can be a small chair which can help the person in bathing. So these are few examples of activities of daily living. Okay, when you talk about the mobility aids, so we divide them into two things, like it can be personal, that is just within an home or in an office you want to go about, that's kind of closed space. But when you say in public areas, how public transportation is modified to make it accessible for differently able people, or accessibility in buildings. And if you say what are the different mobility technologies, they can be like varying. It can be wheelchairs, it can be a walker, it can be canes, prostheses, orthoses, functional electrical stimulators. So these are like, I just put two figures for your understanding. So the first one shows a wheelchair, and the second one is a prosthesis for lower limb. And these are like access and environmental control. So like a small button cannot be accessible by a differently abled people. So generally you provide bigger buttons. And suppose he doesn't have hand movement. So can we give control through head movement or through voice control or even a cheek control, like how Stephen Hawking does? Like he controls his computer by using the cheek movements. So, so let me put a question to you. What do you think are the challenges in assistive technology development? Anybody can unmute and tell me, what do you think are the challenges? So when we talk about 3D printing, there are some challenges. So we are trying to overcome them by using the technology, 3D technology.
Disability of different forms, ma'am. So customization becomes very
Exactly.
necessary for the disabled people.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So customization is very important there. So any other answers? Okay, let me go to my slide. So I have put the challenges here. First thing is like what is commercially available cannot be used by everybody. Like how our specs are. Specs needs to be customized, right? If you don't have a proper eyesight, you have to go to an eye doctor, get your sight tested, and you have to go, get a specs. Similarly, all commercially available assistive technology cannot be used by everybody. It has to be customized. So that's not available in many countries. And again, like individual device compatibility may not be there. Suppose like you say lower limb prosthesis, but it may not be applicable to everybody. Like a child should have a different size prosthesis and an adult person should have a different size prosthesis, and the weight also need to be considered. Everybody may not be able to carry that weight. So sometimes you have to look for a lightweight prosthesis. And affordability. So mostly whatever the prosthesis devices that are available are not affordable by the third world country. So these are the major challenges. So these people are trying to address by 3D printing technology. So by using a 3D printing technology, you can go for individualized assistive technology and low cost assistive technology, and you can go for lightweight devices, and the user can be involved in personalization. Suppose you want to develop an orthotic device, just scan the person's hand and you design a CAD model of a orthosis, print it with a flexible material and give it to him. And it takes shorter time also. Like yesterday, I think Sudhir, he was saying like if you take too much of a time in identifying the problem and coming up with a product, it may not be useful for that particular user. So even like you have to give a solution to him quickly. So this helps in giving a quick solution to a differently abled person. And individual, suppose you give him a file, so they can get it printed also. So individuals can create assistive devices themselves. So because of all these advantages, 3D technology started uh, into rehabilitation engineering. So here I just want to show the case studies, like where all 3D technology has been used for differently able people. So everybody knows what IKEA is. So IKEA is a Swedish company. So it opened in Gachibowli also, I think 3 years back. So it's the furniture and homeware outlet. So they took up a challenge. They said like we want to allow people with special needs also to enjoy the quality of life provided by IKEA products. So they started this with two NGOs, that is Milbot NGO. This was done in Israel. Okay. So they have taken two NGOs, that's Milbot NGO and Access Israel. So Access Israel is a NGO which works for accessibility and inclusion and to improve the quality of life of people with disabilities. So these three people came up with a unique unique products. So let me show a video. So I'll just quit this. So basically, when I put a video in this PPT, like the sound is not audible. So let me present it a different way. So can you see my screen?
Hi, I'm Eldel, 32 years old.
So are you able to see the screen?
Yes, yes.
And audio is I mean, you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
hear it,
We
right?
can-
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hi, I'm Eldel, 32 years old. Although I have cerebral palsy, I do everything I can to conduct myself like everyone else. But in my own home, of all places, I'm surrounded with furniture crying out, cripple. I'd like to sit on a regular sofa, without being afraid I won't be able to get up, to open a regular closet, or even to turn on a regular lamp.
1 in every 10 people in Israel is a disabled person. The IKEA Design Vision gave birth to the Disables Project. Smart hacks making IKEA's best-selling items accessible. The project was created in collaboration with 2 NGOs, Milbot and Access Israel, and started off in the IKEA store with a hackathon of product engineers and disabled people that enabled better understanding of their needs. In the end of the developing process, 13 new products were born, each solving a different accessibility issue, such as sofa elevating legs for easier ascending, lamp button enlargement, special handles for PAX closets, and more. The new products are presented in the world's first accessible living spaces in the IKEA stores. The new models are available for download from the project's website, disables.com, and 3D printing anywhere in the world. So that Eldar, Dina, Pavel, Inbal, Moshe, Tahel, and Liel can also feel comfortable in their own homes like everybody else.
Now they should come up with products that assemble themselves.
Okay, so this is Disables project by IKEA. So they came up with 13 products which make life simple for differently abled people. As mentioned in the video, you can just go to the website, you can download the file for the 3D printing, you can even download the user guide for printing, and you can, suppose there is some problem which is not addressed by these 3 products, you can even tell them the problem, like this is the problem, I want a product for this, or you can even offer a solution. And now after this, they have come up with solutions for children, like different children, like what are the problems they're facing and how can they be addressed. So some of the things, I didn't put all the 13, but some are like simple pen holders, Cane by Me, like mega switches, like switching on the light, and easy handlers, like tap openers and things like that. So this is the one project which was taken up by IKEA. And they also won Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity 2019 for creativity. Okay, so this is one example. So I want to go for the second one, which is called Project Daniel. So Daniel is a 14-year-old boy from Sudan. So he lost both his upper arms during the war. So this Non-Impossible Labs, which is based in California, USA, the founder and CEO is Mick Ebeling. So he is an American entrepreneur. He's a film, television producer, philanthropist also. So he visited Sudan in 2013, and he came up with this Project Daniel. So let me show a video of this. Show here.
I don't believe that you can fix someone. That was never my goal here. Daniel was 14 when the bomb hit. Hiding behind a tree saved his life. But after losing both of his arms, he said he wished it hadn't. He had lived 2 years without arms. Daniel is just one of over 50,000 amputees left in the wake of the bloodiest war Africa has ever known. The plan was to go to Sudan and 3D print prosthetic arms for Daniel. But that was just the beginning. We wanted to leave his village with the tools and knowledge of how to create these prosthetics long after we had gone.
This is going to be the hand that we work on for Daniel.
I still pinch myself the fact that I was able to teach a group of people to print. Many who had never worked with computers before and never seen a 3D printer before, and I taught them how to make arms. That's what technology has the potential to do. I have a process. And the process is you commit, and then you figure out how the heck you're going to do it. The second I saw the story about Daniel, I didn't need to reread it. When you look at a picture of a boy with bandaged stump arms, I mean, what do? Do you just, oh, that's too bad, and close the computer and go to bed? What do? You can't put the pieces back together in someone else's life. But maybe if we print them new pieces, they'll start to learn to put them back together themselves.
So you can see, so the amputees with the 3D printed prosthesis. This guy, Mick, he just didn't provide a prosthesis for one boy, Daniel, and go off. So in the local hospital, he has set up a 3D printing lab, and he taught the people there how to design and how to print and provide a prosthetic limb to the war victims. So this is Project Daniel. So this is another company which is known as Unlimited Tomorrow. So you'll be surprised, like this is started in 2013 by a 14-year-old boy. His name is Easton Chappell. Okay, so he called his prosthesis True Limb prosthesis. So he wanted a prosthesis which looks exactly like the other one, the same skin color. And he focused on pediatric prosthesis, the kids who don't have a limb. And his processes, he says, it's totally personal, it's lightweight, and it's affordable. And you don't even have to go to that office or the factory. So there are few steps, so it will be delivered to your home. Okay, the step one, you just have to answer few questions and one-on-one consultation with the clinical team, either video conferencing, or if you can go fine, you go there. And step two is they ship a 3D scanner to your home. So based on the instructions, you 3D scan the stump and send it back to them. And they prepare the sockets, and sockets are sent back to the user. So if you say, like, you wear the socket and a video evaluation is done with the clinical team. And if it is like comfortable and it fits really well, you say, okay, fine, this is the final socket I'm going to have. The step 4 is they are going to 3D print, assemble the processes and send it back to the doorstep. So step 5 is the limb is shipped. So you can see the girl so happy wearing the prosthetic limb and going on with the daily chores. But he says it's affordable, but the cost of this limb is 8,000 US dollars. I don't think it's in India is affordable, but in USA it's affordable. Okay, so this is one company which is working on 3D printing prosthetic limbs. So let me show you another company which works on prosthetic covers. So any prosthetic limb, it consists of a lot of electronic components. It has servo motors, and if you just look at it without a cover, it looks kind of scary. Okay, so every prosthetic limb is provided with a cover. So this company came up, UNQYQ, this came up with prosthetic cover designs in 30 models. So whichever design you want, you just pick it up based on your dress. You can match it with the dress and wear the limb. So you can see the lady here. So the testimonials say that because of this cover, I can wear the skirts and I can match the cover with the dress I wear. And this costs about 600 US dollars. This is just a cover. And so this is again a first fully 3D printed walking stick. So this is developed by Shiro's studio based in UK and in collaboration with MHOX. So this is basically an Italian design studio inspired by human body and also with an engineering firm called Arup. So when you just look at the walking stick, they are basically heavy. So these people, the three of them, came up with a porous design. So you can see the porous design here, like how our bone is like tubular structure. So they came up with a porous structure so that it will be lightweight, and it has 3-axis handle geometry. You can see the 3-axis handle geometry. So it gives good support to the user, and when you're not using it, the 3-axis can be used to rest the stick vertically on the ground. And they have also provided a branch-like projection here so that you can rest it at the edge of the table. So it's kind of stylish compared to the other regular sticks. Okay, so this is one application of 3D printing in rehabilitation engineering. And people even started printing wheelchairs, but this is just at a prototype stage. They haven't marketed it. So this is done by the company called Layer, which is founded by Benjamin Hubert. So basically, when it's a wheelchair, means it has to fit the body of the user. So they take the individual's body shape, weight, and what is the kind of disability, how does he want to operate the wheelchair, and do a 3D printed wheelchair. Okay, so these are the different prosthetic devices that are available. So let me just tell you a few case studies, like how do you start and go about to the product. So actually, to be honest, there is not much of literature available on this 3D printing, but there is a journal that is totally dedicated. This is an international journal of assistive technology, totally dedicated to assistive technology. So I picked up these case studies from that journal. So the first case study I am talking about is from patient to maker, a case study of co-designing an assistive device using 3D printing. So this has been done by researchers in Milan. They are from Department of Design. So here they have taken the participant. She is a mid-aged woman. She has amputations of phalanges of both hands and lower legs. And the elbow joints are also blocked at 20 degrees flexion. She cannot move them freely. And she is totally dependent, full-time caretaker. So she was not able to do any of her activities of daily living. So she was actually looking for a variety of solutions for feeding and personal care. So the researchers had the first meeting. This was the first meeting. So they understood the situation of the user, the participant. Then they asked, like, what is your first priority? So her first priority was like feeding herself, eating. So in the second meeting, so they came up with a fork holder. So this figure you see here is a CAD model they have developed for a fork holder, and you can see like a 3D printed a fork holder and how fork is connected to it. And it was given to the lady in the second meeting, and they said like, okay, use it, give your feedback. Fine. In the third meeting, which was very critical. So the lady, she used that fork holder and gave a lot of feedback. She wanted like proper ergonomically designed with a curved, smoothly curved surface and all that. She wanted an aesthetic design. So they went back, they redesigned it, and they came up with this device. You can see what they have developed. So this, the pinkish thing you see here is the holder, fork holder they gave, and which can be dismantled also. It can be removed and it can be connected again. And you'd be surprised, like it costs, I mean, yesterday also some of the speakers were telling like the 3D printing depends upon the amount of material that has been used in printing it. So it's minimal amount, like only 54 grams of PLA, that's polylactic acid material, plastic was used in printing. And the cost of the printing is 0.65 euro. It's very affordable. And it took about 14 hours to print this fork holder. And the lady was very happy with it and she started using it. So this is one case study. So let me go to the second case study. So the second case study is these researchers from Taiwan. So Taiwan is almost like India, like it's a third world country. They were not getting customized assistive devices. So the researchers from Department of Industrial Engineering and Management, they thought like we have to customize a short thumb orthosis by using 3D hand models. Okay, so this is published in Assistive Technology Journal 2020. So the problem statement they have taken is they wanted to develop a short thumb orthosis for clients suffering with osteoarthritis, who have thumb pain and who have strain injuries and many other thumb conditions. So they have taken participants, few participants they have selected. They did scanning of the palms. Okay, and they collected the anthropometric data. Anthropometric data is anthropometry is measuring the human body. So you take the measurements from the body, from the palm measurements were taken. And 19 parameters they have taken. So the 19 parameters are like thumb length, palm length, and thicknesses, different thicknesses, and all they have taken. And step 2, they have developed a 3D hand mesh. And using the hand mesh, they have constructed a parametric model and they printed it. So this actually I have put the figure of the 19 anthropometric data in case somebody is interested as like what are the different 19 parameters that needs to be taken. So you can see different measurements have been taken. And this figure shows the model that has been developed here, the CAD model that has been developed, and they are printing by using a flexible material. Actually, in that paper, they have not mentioned like which material has been used for printing. So they printed it with a flexible material, and you can see the orthosis here. And you can see the user wearing the orthosis here, and they're doing different tasks. So that lady was asked to do different tasks like open a bottle and write and play a computer game or do texting on a smartphone. So they do all this and they do a usability testing and usability experience. Mostly in rehabilitation engineering and assistive technology, the usability experience is based on interviews. They say like, what is your experience? They, how can I say, like they say they frame a survey form based on the dimensions, weight, usability. Are you comfortable? Are you able to wear it on your own? Can you take it off whenever you want? So based on the interviews. So they have collected the usability experience, and everybody was happy with the orthoses that have been developed. On a higher score of 5, most of them gave a 4.9. So you can say this is a really successful 3D printed orthotic device. And case 3 is done by Occupational Therapy Department, Turkey. So if you just look at the researchers, you can see how interdisciplinary rehabilitation engineering is. We have seen Department of Design. We have here there is occupational therapy therapists that are coming into picture. So they wanted to do an assistive device using a 3D printer. So let me go to the participant. So the participant had a vertebral fracture at cervical 5-6 level by a traffic accident, and he is a wheelchair user as of now. He cannot grasp by using using his right hand, and even the left also only first and second fingers had little movement. But this guy works in an office, so most of his work depends on writing. So he wanted an assistive device for writing activity. So for that, they have taken a 3D scan of the person's arm. So this is how it looks. And they came up with a pen holder. So this is a model. So I'll show you how it looks. So this is how it looks like after printing. So you can put the pen in the hole here. This is the pen holder. And you can see how he is writing. So, but any assistive device needs some kind of training. So the person is trained to write by wearing this assistive device, small activities of daily living, you can say. And just look at the cost. It costs about 5 euros. So it's pretty affordable. So these are the few case studies I picked up from Assistive Technology Journal. So we also at our lab, Assistive Technology Lab, we have a Fabex 3D printer, and we started 3D printing in a small way. So this is our first thing. So we printed few things like skulls, bones and all, which help in teaching biomedical engineering students. So this is the first project which has been done by a BTech biomedical student. He has printed a 3D prosthetic arm by using this ABS material. So the reason he chose ABS material is it is like it has good resistance, it has good strength, it has chemical resistance and good electrical insulation, because we are putting all electronic components in that. And it is easy to paint and glue because those parts are like individually printed and put together by gluing. And this arm that is developed is a EMG control. That is, EMG is electromyogram. That's activity that is generated by the muscles. So the muscles that are in the stump of the limb, the remaining limb, the electrodes are placed on it, and that muscle movement is used to control these fingers. Okay, so this consists of servo motors and microcontrollers, and this whole arm, this prosthetic arm, took about 24 hours to print, and it costs around rupees 3,000. And the boy who has done this project is right now doing the MS in biomedical engineering in Germany. So we want to go further into 3D printing. We are even planning to buy more 3D printer. Our college also got AICT Idea Labs approval. So in that we are planning to get more 3D printers, and we want to get high level into 3D printing for rehabilitation engineering. So I just want to give a little like what are the advantages of 3D printing. So by using this, you can do a low cost assistive device. And in the case studies, I have shown that you can customize them and individual based devices and whatever they want. Some person wanted a device for writing, and the lady wanted a fork holder so that she can eat on her own. And by using 3D printing, you can conclude that assistive devices become easier and they can be produced. Also, prototyping is faster. And if anybody who wants to work in this field, rehabilitation engineering field, there is a society that is Rehabilitation Engineering and Assistive Technology Society of North America. It's known as RESNA. So this is the highest society in rehabilitation engineering, which is based in USA. And that assistive technology journal is brought out by this RESNA society. So you can even become a member of this. It costs about $180 per year. And you can even take an institute membership for this. Suppose you may ask me, what about in India? In India, you have Rehabilitation Council of India. So these are the people who look at special needs in education for children. Okay, so here I'll give a little introduction about our lab. So I am from B.V. Raju Institute of Technology in Narsapur, which is located in Telangana. We are in the outskirts of Hyderabad. We are about 45 to 50 kilometers from Hyderabad. So we are part of Sri Vishnu Educational Society. That's why I put this logo here. This is our logo. So our college started an assistive technology lab in 2009 in collaboration with UMass Lowell. So you can see our chairman Sri Viswaraju Garu here, and he is Professor Alan Rux from UMass Lowell. So initial years like 2009, 10, 11 and all, we have taken help from UMass Lowell in establishing the lab. So in this lab, like we take undergraduate students from different disciplines. We have 9 disciplines in our college. So we select students from second year. So they come here, we select about 50 to 60 students per batch. We train them in whatever the skills that are required to work on differently abled projects. Then we form groups, and we also have little collaboration with the blind school, which is in Narsapur, and special education school and few rehabilitation centers. So the students go there, identify the problem, and they work on developing the prototypes. So these are like few of our achievements I've put here. There are quite a few, but I have put only the recent one. So in July 2020, we have won the first prize of $100 in student design challenge, which is hosted by RESNA. So I already showed you what RESNA is. You can even see the RESNA here, Rehabilitation Engineering Society of North America. So this is the 4-member team. You can see, and yeah, I forgot to mention that whatever groups we do in our assistive technology lab, they're interdisciplinary. Like you can see a chemical engineer, the first guy is a chemical engineer, these 2 are biomedical engineers, and this boy is an electrical engineer. Since rehabilitation is multidisciplinary, we believe in a multidisciplinary team so that they can bring their own expertise and work on the projects. And these are few other things, like you can see this photograph here with our Honorable Minister K.T. Ramarao Garu and Principal Secretary Jayesh Ranjan. This was like December 3rd in 2020. December 3rd is International Day of People with Disabilities. So Telangana government started celebrating it last year. Actually, we do it every year, but they also started it last year. And they have conducted an exhibition. So we partnered with them in conducting the event, and we displayed our projects there. So this is all our college team here. You see our principal sir, we were there. And we also got shortlisted for BioAsia in startup stage. So these are our students from Assistive Technology Lab, and our students and our faculty are also here. So they participated in Smart India Hackathon. This is a hackathon, few hackathons, they have won prizes. Okay, so this is about my lab, and so I just want to leave you with a quotation which says, like, for most of us, technology makes things easier, but for people with a disability, it makes things possible. So I hope after this presentation, people will think of working in the field of assistive technology. And I want to thank Professor Malini and Dr. Suman for giving me this opportunity. And this is my contact email ID. And I'm ready for any questions.
Yeah. Any questions from the participants? Yes, any questions from the participants? You are free to interact with the speaker.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, yeah.
In the lab in your college, which type of 3D? Sorry, ma'am.
We have a Fabex 3D printer.
Okay. Because the prototype which was designed by your student was a prosthetic arm, no? So, that material and the technology used in printing that material, was that a standalone piece, or it was already established and the student
No,
has
it's
been.
it's a standalone piece. It was done by the student. The standalone. He has designed it and did it.
Acha. Okay. Thank you.
Sujana ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
your talk was excellent and it's exposed a lot of areas, in which, as you have mentioned, that you would like people to start working on assistive technology. I'm a professor at VIIT,
Okay.
and I had a group. VIIT stands for Vishwakarma Institute of Information Technology. It's an
Pune.
engineering college in Pune.
Mm.
I've had a group of students who had worked on a summer internship program, and they had worked on a it's called as a voice controlled robotic arm.
Okay.
And I would like to take this further because they had 3D printed the phalanges, but they had not made a prosthetic arm.
Okay.
So is it possible to work in collaboration? Are you interested in working on
Yes,
a
definitely. We look into it, ma'am. And
Can I
actually,
have your
our
contact
lab,
number?
yeah, and actually in our lab, we even offer internships.
Oh, that's
Okay,
great.
6 weeks or 8 weeks. They can come to our college and they can stay in the hostel. Hostel will be provided for them. They can come stay here, and we every year we have even students coming from Mizoram. They come from that far. They come here, work on projects, and take the prototype back. But because of the COVID, we didn't have anybody after 2019. 2019 was the last group we had. We are even planning to start some summer internship from next year, next summer.
Do
So
you
we'll
have
be
any faculty training programs also?
not yet, not yet. Maybe
Can
we'll
we
think of
together,
doing it.
collaborate and have some sort of a program like that?
Definitely, we'll do.
Okay. Can I have your contact number then?
Yeah, I'll message you. You want my number, or just drop a mail to me? I'll again post in the chat box also. So I'll
Yeah.
send my contact number through the mail. Sujana.h.
Sure, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
So I have posted in the chat box.
Yes, any more would like to interact with Dr. Sujana? Okay. Yeah. Okay. If there are no questions, I think, yeah, Sujana, thank you so much. I know you are also busy with your meetings and all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very good session because as you feel, actually doing something for the differently able just gives an immense amount of satisfaction that, yeah, you can experience, you must be experiencing that. Yeah, hope we all of us will do something, some minuscule for the people with disabilities. Thank you so much for the session. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you all for listening. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Yes, participants, we have finished the sessions for the day. Yeah, because of the speaker is busy, I think we had an session for around 1 hour or so. I'll just post the link for attendance. Please fill the form and then you will be able to leave. Okay. Yes, please fill the attendance link and then you will be able to leave. We'll meet tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock for Dr. M.V. Reddy's session.